Dear learners, welcome to the LMTI. So we are just learning the Maven and its series number 4. And in today's session, we are going to learn about the dependencies and the repository. So if you haven't watched my previous videos, so please go ahead and learn that so that you will be having the better understanding on this session. What is mean by dependency? In the day one of the session, like I have explained, we call the Maven as a build tool. So why we are going to call this as a build tool in the sense because in a traditional way, we may manually add the required jar files into the project. But in case of a Maven, we are going to add the required jar with the help of the dependency. If you need to use the Selenium, so then we need to add the Selenium dependency. And in similar way, if you need to use any other framework, let it be like a fun Cucumber framework, then you need to add the Cucumber dependency. So whenever we inject the dependency, so what happen? It will download the jar file. And where we are going to inject this dependency in the sense, so in the pom.xml file. So we call this pom.xml file as the heart of the Maven. So why we are calling this as a heart of the Maven in the sense because whenever the execution begins, it will read the pom.xml first and whatever the configurations which is available in the pom.xml, so it will execute those configuration. And this pom.xml is kind of an XML document, and we call this pom as a project object model. Okay, so whatever the details we are required for the project, so we are going to inject in this pom.xml. So that is the reason we call it as an project object model. And how we are going to inject in the sense, let me just go back to the IntelliJ. You could be able to see the file called as an pom.xml. So whenever we are creating the Maven project, by default this pom.xml will be get added up. And this pom.xml is kind of an like XML document. Okay, so XML document, or we call it as an XML structure. So which is nothing but we will be having the tag. So we will be having something called as an open tag and the close tag. So when we use the notation called as an lesser than and greater than symbol, and followed by inside the lesser than and greater than symbol, if I use the uh, forward slash, so then we call it as an open tag. So whereas this notation we call it as an close tag. So as it is of an XML structure, XML document structure, so it will have the multiple tags. So which means it should have the open tag and the close tag. So let's say if it is having the tag called as an learn more. So this learn more should have some close tag, and either it can close at the same line or it can be close at the different line. Or for example, if I'm adding the tag called as an iPhone, so the iPhone open tag is starting at the line number 93, and either it can terminate at the same line, which is nothing but it can close at the same line, or it can close at the different line. And inside the tag we can have multiple tags as well. So let's say the iPhone holds the a model iPhone 13. So if it have the 13 open tag, we will be having the close tag. Or if it is of an 14, we will be having the 14 open tag and the 14 close tag. So which is nothing but in the project object model, so we will be having the tag. So we will be having the open tag and close tag. So whenever we have the open tag, so it should close. So either it should close at the same line or it should close at the different line. So now let us go back to this pom.xml and try to relay the thing. So you could see we are having some tag called as a group ID, and it is terminating, it is closing at the same line. So the tag can be closed at the same line or at the different line. You could see there is another tag called as an properties, so which is opening at the line number 11 and it is closing in the line number 15, and inside which like we are having the multiple tag. So here we are having some parent tag called as an project, and only inside the project tag, so we need to add all other new tag. So in order to inject the dependency, so we are going to add a tag called as an dependencies. Okay, so the plural form of the dependency is dependencies. So like, because like we may add multiple dependency in our project, so whenever we are adding the new dependency, it should be added inside the dependencies tag. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to the IDE. So here inside the project tag, I'm adding the tag called as a dependency. So I'm just adding the lesser than symbol, and I'm just started to typing dependency DEP, and you could see it is receiving as a suggestion. So from the suggestion, so like we can select the respective tag. So now we have added the dependencies plural tag, and inside which like we are going to inject the required dependency. So which is nothing but we are going to inject the Selenium dependencies or Cucumber dependencies or whatever the other dependencies which you required. So we will be adding under the dependencies tag. And how you will getting the dependency in the sense, like we should access the repository. Okay, so like we are having something called as an repository. So what is mean by repository? So repository is nothing but we call it as an storage area. Okay, so whenever we store something in a specific place, so we call it as an repository. The short form of the repository, we call it as an repo. So generally in the real time world, like we are having like three types of repo. So one we call it as an public repository, and other we call it as an private repository, and finally like we are having the third repo called as an local repository. Okay, so these are the three types of repository so which is available in the market. So when it is of an public repo, so it can be accessed by anyone. Okay, so it can be accessed by anyone. So if it is of an private repo, okay, so it can be accessed only by the authorized person, because this private repo are maintained by the respective firm. So it is maintained by the firm, so which is nothing but they will use this private repo as their own internal repository, and which can be accessed only by the authorized person. So the local repo in the sense, like our system, we call it as an local system. So generally where this local repository will be present in our system in the sense, okay, so like we will be having like in our system we will be having our user home, right? So if we navigate to the user home, so we could able to see .m2 folder, so which will act as a local repository. So I will show you like how to add this local repository. So now this Maven is acting as a public repo. Okay, so we are having the repository called as an MVN repository, so which is a public repo. So as it is of an public repo, so we can access and we can download the respective dependency. And who is maintaining this Maven repository in the sense, it is maintained by the Maven community. Okay, so generally this Maven repository is available over the internet. Okay, so it is available over the internet, so anyone can access this public repo, and we are going to use this public repo. And in order to access this public repo, so open any one of the browser and search with the keyword called as an Maven repository. Okay, and then click on enter. You will be having the official website called as an mvnrepository.com. Okay, so I will add this link in the description, like you can refer it up. So now what are the knowledge we are going to inject? So in my project, I may require the Selenium knowledge. So I'm searching with the keyword called as an Selenium and I'm clicking on search button. Like it will display the result of Selenium. If I required Selenium Java, so which means like if I'm going to use Selenium with Java, then I can select the Selenium Java from the search result. So whenever we select the Selenium Java, like it will have different versions, like you could see. So starting from 2 series, like it has many version, and we should always select the latest version. So now the latest version which is available is like 4.18.1. So just click on that version number and post that, like you could be able to see the section called as an Maven. If you click on it, it will automatically copy this 4 line of code. Now I need to place this inside the dependencies tag. Okay, so we need to place inside the dependencies tag. So what is a common issue the student used to do is like, so without adding the dependencies tag, so they try to place the dependency, or even if you try to paste this dependency outside the project, it will throw the error. If you place this dependency outside this dependency stack, it will throw the error. So make sure you are pasting the dependency only inside the dependency stack. Okay, so now we have paste the required dependency. So in similar way, like whatever the dependency you needed, so you can add the respective dependency over it. Because like in an organization, like we may either depend upon the organization dependency, which is nothing but created by them, or we can depend upon the open source world. So whenever we depend upon the open source world, like we can refer the public repo and we can inject the needed file. So generally, like as I told highlighted in the previous session, so whenever we are working on the project, so we depends upon the lot of things, then we need to inject their respective knowledge. And how we are going to inject the respective knowledge in the sense with the help of the dependencies. Okay, so now I have added the Selenium dependency. So now you could see there is a logo called as an M. If I click on the logo M, so we are having two section called as an lifecycle and plugins. In similar way, if I expand this external library, under which I could be able to see something called as an 21, so which is nothing but the Java version. So the reason is like, because in the day one of the session, like we may have created the Maven project. So while creating the Maven project, like we have selected the Java version. So that is the reason the Java knowledge is injected into the project. So now we have added the dependency. So whenever we have added the dependency, so we need to reload the Maven. Okay, so what happened when we try to reload the Maven? So like the pom.xml file will initially look on the local repo. So which is nothing but I told there is some place called as an .m2 folder. It will look on the .m2 folder whether the respective jar file is available or not. If the jar file is not available, then pom.xml will communicate with the Maven repository. Okay, so as it is of an public repo, so all the jar file will be downloaded from the public repo to the local repo. Okay, so we are just downloading to the public repo to the local repo. So when it happened in the sense, whenever we do the reload, it will initially scan the local repo. If the jar is not available from the public repo, it will download to the local repo. So how to do this Maven reload in the sense? So navigate to the IntelliJ and click on this M section. Okay, and here you could be able to see the reload button. If you click on this reload, So now what happened here, you could see the message like resolving dependency import Maven project, and the new section called as an dependency is added, and here you could see multiple files are added. So the reason is like the pom.xml is communicated with the public repo, and from there whatever the required dependencies needed, it is downloading it. If I expand this dependency section, you could see it has downloaded the Selenium jar files of the version 4.18, and same has been added here. And where it is added in the sense, it is added in the local repo, and where the local repo is present in the sense, as I told, so we should navigate to the user home under the .m2 folder. So if I navigate to the local disk C, so like where we could able to see the file called as an user, okay, so folder called as an user, and inside which this is my user home. If I navigate to my user home, I could see the folder called as an .m2. So this is the place where all the jar files will be get stored. If I open any one of the folder, like you could be able to see the respective jar file, and how the jar files are downloaded in the sense, because like the pom.xml has communicated with the public repo, and from the public repo it has downloaded the respective file. And whenever the update happen, so like let's say like now we are using the version called as an 4.18.1, so in future the Selenium is updating the version to 4.19.0. Okay, so in that case what we can do, we can simply update the version number, and then we can do the Maven reload. So whenever version update happen, so we can simply change the version number and we can do the Maven reload. Then what happen? It will automatically download the latest jar file and place those jar files in the .m2 folder. So as it is auto downloading the respective jar, so which is nothing but it is maintaining our project. So as it is managing our project, like we can say the Maven as a build management tool. So that is the reason we always call the Maven as a build management tool. So it will download the required dependency either from the organization repo or from the open source world. And other thing, so like what are the general issue you may face in the sense, like whenever you are injecting the dependency, if it is in red color, so please do the Maven reload, the red color will be resolved. Okay, so whenever you are facing any error, so either in the pom.xml if there is any error, so do the Maven reload. So if I update the version as 4.18.0, it is throwing the error, but if I reload the Maven, so now what happened, so it will downloaded the Selenium files of the version 4.18.0. So it will resolve the issues. So if the jar files are auto downloaded, so probably it will resolve the issues in the pom.xml. So make sure like you are adding the dependency only inside the dependency section, and if there is any error, please do the Maven reload, or else as I told in the previous session, so just click on the main menu and do invalidate catches, so it will resolve all your errors. Okay, so this is how like we need to add the dependency in the Maven project, and where we are adding the dependency in the sense in the pom.xml, and in the pom.xml we have created the tag called as an dependencies, under which we are injecting the required dependency. In case if I need the Cucumber framework, then I can say I can search with the keyword called as an Cucumber in the public repo, and then I can select the latest version, and post that I can copy this and I can place inside this dependency stack. So inside this dependency we can add n number of dependency. So now like whenever we add the dependency, automatically the reload symbol will be populating. Either you can click on this Maven reload, or you can click on this Maven section and you can do the reload. So initially, right, we are having only Selenium Java, but if I do the reload, as we have added the Cucumber, so it will download the Cucumber jar files as well. So as it is taking care of the project build activities, like we call it as an build management tool. So initially The first step is like, as I told in the day one of the class, so we are going to build the project, and then like we are going to compile and we are going to run, and we are building the project with the help of the Maven. That is the reason we call it as an Maven as a build management tool. So hope it is clear for you all, and see you all in the next session. So keep learning.